Hello and welcome to Oh What a Marvel. That countdown timer thing, that progress bar on the bottom of the screen, it's doing wonders, Dean. It's doing wonders. This is the podcast on the Merc with Movie blog feed, YouTube channel. We're talking all about the Disney Plus Marvel shows. Right now we are covering Moon Knight. I'm Sean. I'm one of the people here, and I'm joined by Dean. Hello, hey Dean.
Hi, I'm
How's
Dean.
it
I'm the
going?
other person.
You're
Yeah,
the other
yeah, I'm not
person,
bad.
Dean. You're the the personality. I want to start off the show immediately
You're
by
the other
addressing.
personality.
Yeah, sure, dude. I want to immediately address your tweet promoting this episode because I think it's pretty good. You said, "Won't you please grant us an hour of your night?" Spelled Knight for our show about a show. We promise not to miss the mark. Spelled Marc. Where does your genius come from, Dean?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I got those puns in every tweet so far, but
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much material, you know, and I can't. I was sitting here today. I'm thinking, right, what haven't I done a pun about yet? 'Cause like, but then what have I got left? Like, I'm not fitting that into something. Harrow, maybe. So I was like, I'll
You
tell
could
you
do
what I
something with
do.
harrowing, or.
I could have done, but it felt it didn't feel natural. I couldn't
Okay, that's
quite
fair.
get it to work.
I don't
I couldn't
know.
get it to
I
work.
thought
So
I thought this
I thought I'd
episode
get
was
them
pretty
all three in
harrowing.
there.
I
Yeah,
was
it was
it was
all
pretty.
yeah, it was right there. But I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna steamroll three puns into like a nice, neat little sentence or two, and that's how it works, guys. You are getting behind the scenes here into
Yeah.
this Oscar Wilde like wordplay genius that we have going on.
I just
It
thought it was
almost
really important to draw attention to it because I saw it and I was like, man, the poet of our generation, to be
yeah.
sure.
But I'm out now, and I can't use Harrow now because we've discussed it. So I really hope they introduce a new character for next week. That we need a new personality.
Yeah. This week, talking about episode 4 of Moon Knight. It was titled The Tomb, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Alex Minahan and Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada, and originally aired yesterday, which was 420.
Hey,
It was 420. Yeah,
that's a lot of writers, by the way.
it is. It's a proper TV writers room amount of writers. I believe the head writer. I don't have the name of the head writer for you right off the top of my head, but it's none of them. None of them are the head writer. The head writer wrote
Is it
episode 1, I think.
is it the same group of writers for all the other episodes? Because this one feels like the most like single kind of like vision episode out of the whole bunch. To be honest, this feels really like cohesive and streamlined, and the
So
other ones
episode
felt more all over the place.
so episode 1 was Jeremy Slater. Episode 2 was Michael Castelline. Episode 3 was Bo DeMeo. And then Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada were also episode 3, and they did this one as well.
Oh
But
wow, that is
but
really odd.
but also, I don't know how crediting works. But I know that this is important. It says for this episode, it says Alex Minahan and Peter Cameron, and then the second and for Sabir Pirzada is like the and symbol. And I'm pretty sure that using and spelt out versus and as a symbol means something. I
Yeah,
can't tell you what it means, but I'm pretty sure
it's
I
like
remember reading that's there's a distinction there.
it's like when you see like the actors in a movie in the credits for a movie, and it's like starring so and so with so and so
Yeah.
featuring somebody, and
Yeah.
they all it's just like hierarchy politics, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it also has something to do with amount of involvement, maybe what they worked on. I think I'm pretty sure that there's a distinction to that, but I couldn't tell you what it is. I remember reading it once because I saw an MCU movie that had like 6 writers on it, and I was like, "What the fuck does this mean?" And I
Oh
looked it up,
man,
and I'm like, "Oh, this is all
yeah.
what that all means." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then it immediately went out of my head, except for the idea that it exists. Um, all right, before we jump too deep into specifics about the episode, Dean, What did you think about it, like, overall?
So I was kind of trepidatious about this one, really, because
Mhm.
obviously the way we left it off from last week is like, okay, we're not getting any Moon Knight whatsoever. We didn't exactly get a whole bunch in any of the other episodes. I'm like, we're
Mhm.
going to be delving, so that means we're going to be delving deeper into like, hopefully, like the backstory, get more of the origin, kind of feel out more of these personalities and
No.
and learn like maybe how they more how like their relationship to each other kind of before we jump on as viewers.
Yeah.
And we do kind of get that.
A
I
little
actually
bit.
think I do think this is probably one of the best episodes. I think this might be
Oh,
the best
I
episode.
I agree. Oh, I thought this episode was fantastic. Yeah. I loved it.
Despite some weird stuff at the end, which I kind of
Despite
have
the
mixed
weird stuff
feelings
at
on.
the end,
I have
I loved the weird stuff at the end.
I love it, but also I do have kind of mixed feelings on it. But we
I
can
had,
we can
yeah,
build up
we
to
can
that.
get there. I had thoughts on that as well that kind of jumped around a little bit. Um, I want to start off talking about not a specific scene, but a vibe in this episode. This episode had a really big like horror vibe, and I watched this episode when I got off work yesterday at like 5 o'clock in the is 5:30 or whatever in the evening. The sun was hitting perfectly through the window. I didn't think to close the blinds until halfway through the episode. I couldn't see shit for so much of the stuff inside the tomb. So I need to ask
Ooh.
you, Dean, how were the horror elements of the episode? Because I feel like they were there, but I'm not sure I saw them perfectly.
Oh man, do you want to talk about the vibe of this episode? I loved it. The horror stuff works great. I don't know if I got full on like horror vibe. The vibe that I was getting was much more of like a Spielberg kind of
Mhm.
Amblin
Okay.
entertainment kind of vibe.
I
You
definitely
know,
got that at parts, but I think like there's a sequence where they're like um the one that I thought of where I was like, man, if I could see this is probably really scary. Um is when she's going on like the cliffside or like the side of the like
yeah.
there's the drop and I could tell by the camera movement that that something was there, but I couldn't see the creature, like because it would zoom in on the cracks in the wall or whatever, and I was like,
hmm
"You're looking at something, but I can't see it." So I'm not sure what I'm looking at,
So we're
but
seeing like mummies, I guess,
yeah,
zombie
yeah,
mummies.
I saw some mummy
Um,
stuff going on, and eventually when like the mummy like jumps out of the hole in the wall, I definitely
yeah.
saw it then. But there were times where I was like, I got the feeling that I was supposed to be seeing the mummy moving around in the background, and I couldn't quite because of the
There
lighting.
was one there was one moment where I almost thought like something was going on with my internet or
Yeah.
my connection or something
Was it the
because
one where it
she's
kept
like,
pulling her back?
yeah, she gets
Yeah, that was
dragged into the
weird.
wall and then
Yeah,
she comes out and then she gets dragged back into the
yeah,
wall. Then she
yeah,
comes out, she gets dragged back into that fucking,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, is this supposed to be funny? Are they just
It
really
was a
trying to
little
hit me with the
funny.
scare over and over again?
It was a little
I
Scooby
wasn't
Doo.
sure. It was a little bit Scooby Doo, like they're all going to start running through different walls
Yeah,
and
yeah,
popping out filing
yeah,
cabinets.
yeah.
But maybe
it,
you needed a bit of that because other than that, it
it
was
was a heavy
like
episode.
it was quite heavy, especially in that part, like visually, but just like just the general, like you say, the vibe throughout the whole episode was very um introspective and quite harsh in a lot of ways.
A lot of
But I
blood.
think they nailed it really well, and we still get some humor in here. The humor doesn't feel out of place, and I
Mhm.
think they really just nailed the balance between like the Marvel stuff, the horror stuff, and between this and like What If and what we're seeing in the Doctor Strange trailer, they're really getting us ready for this more supernatural and darker stuff. And now it's just like I think by the time we get to like the end of this year, we just won't even question it. Like this is just
Yeah,
part of the fabric of the MCU now.
we're getting quite a bit of it this year, aren't we? Between this Doctor Strange and that Halloween special thing that Michael Giacchino
Hmm
is doing. Um, I can't believe Michael Giacchino is directing that. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, right.
But I this episode with the horror stuff and with the kind of the stuff inside the tomb, I've seen some people online saying that like I saw some people online complaining that like it wasn't grand enough. Like you're inside the pyramid of, as we find out, Alexander the Great, and they're like, "This isn't. Where's the big cool entrance and all this stuff?" And it's like, that's Hollywood Egyptian stuff. These tombs aren't going to have big entrances that make it very visible. Like I remember reading a
What
quote
do they want? A foyer?
yeah, like I remember reading a quote from the showrunner saying how he was really frustrated with Hollywood's depiction of like Egyptian culture and like the kind of Egyptian pharaoh tombs and stuff.
Mhm.
And it seems like this is a much more accurate and much more grounded depiction of that kind of environment. And it sounds like people were kind of frustrated with that just a little bit because they were expecting the kind of Hollywood spectacle interpretation of.
They think they're going to
of
get
these
like
things.
this big, great golden hall that
They're
you walk
expecting Indiana
into,
Jones.
These big sprawling shots.
Yeah.
Newsflash: you're in a fucking tomb.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's
Yeah.
cramped.
Yeah.
Okay. They had to. Real people had to build this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
With no electricity and no
Yeah.
helmet with a flashlight.
Okay. They didn't have a drill. They didn't have a power drill, you know?
They had to run in there in the daytime in like 10-minute intervals and quickly stick in a wooden beam and get the fuck out of there before the mummies came out. Right?
Yes, because the mummies were there. The mummies were like the foremen. They were running the operation.
You build it around the mummies. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, I think so. The mummies are in the walls. You got to quickly, when you're putting up the drywall, you have to be really fucking quick because on the other side.
Yeah, man. And then you've got to plaster, you've got to do your artex in, you've got to get your spirit level. Okay, you've got to pick out your color palettes and your wallpaper designs.
Very quick.
Very hard stuff.
And you got to think about, as you're building it, it takes longer to get to the end of it. And that time has to be taken into account. Like travel time inside the tomb has to be taken into account. It's
every day it's taking you're getting less and less time to get in there and build the thing. So it's probably getting narrower and more cramped the further
you just got to get the job done, you know?
I mean, although I don't want to jump too far ahead, but Harrow doesn't seem to have a problem with this because his power of just appearing at convenient times out of nowhere is very much intact.
Dude, this shot is so good. Oh, this is such a good example of he's just like got a leg hanging off the edge, and he looks like a college philosophy professor just sitting in like a random corner of campus, just like, I loved a woman once.
So casual. You know? It's like, this is the tomb that nobody has explored. We have got to go in there and we got to get something that nobody has ever got. Oh, he's already here.
He's here.
What?
And he's both here and not here because they get to the end before him. But he's also just kind of chilling around. He's like, "What's going on, guys? How's it going? I'm here." Well, I did love that, like, it was kind of a maze in the shape of the Eye of Horus. That was cool.
Yeah. But again, I don't want to be too nitpicky. This is supposed to be like some super hidden Alexander the Great tomb. Nobody even knew where this was.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that over all the years of archaeologists and Egyptian experts that nobody has figured out, the symbols, the layout of the thing represents the symbols that mean the things that it relates to. And it's got the symbol of the tongue, and he's the mouthpiece, and he's the voice. So I'm just going to stick my fucking arm down his throat.
That is such a leap in logic. There is such a far leap in logic of going, he's the voice of Amet, to I'm going to stick my fucking hand down this dude's throat. That would
be the first thing I thought of.
Would it be, Dean? Would it be the first thing you thought? The first thing you thought would be, I'm going in there, man. I'm open up. We're going
so I would have a little pat round the sides first. I would, quickly just a nice sweep. And then I'm like, no, it's inside him.
But your first thought is to go down the throat.
Well, actually, sure. My first thought would be to get inside him, regardless of the method or the means. And then my second thought after that would be, I'm probably going to go through the throat. It seems like a more dignified way to
I guess that's true.
excavate
But
Alexander the
he
Great.
breaks his throat, or not his throat, his jaw to do it. Yeah, I was like,
I love how he keeps calling him Mr. Great as well.
Apparently on Marvel.com, they also call him Mr. Great. When they're
Really?
talking about the summary of the episode, they also describe Mr. Great. But yeah, I mean, that's a good segue into the idea of Ahmet's last avatar being Alexander the Great, which makes sense, I think. I mean, that kind of fits in the motif of Alexander the Great's whole thing.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the historians out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's some stuff here to latch onto. Like so, you've got the horror stuff, you've got the history stuff, you kind of got like
There's
some
some
real
romance.
great like character interaction with the romance, and like all we kind of get straight into a we
When
got
he
a full on
punches
triangle
himself.
at this point.
When he punches himself, dude.
I love that.
That was really funny.
But also,
Do
I
you
love
think-
how
okay.
he's honest.
Do you think Mark? I do love how he was honest, but do you think Mark? Do you think Mark gave control back to Steven and Steven like just didn't know how to rappel down and that's why he fell? Mark said that if Steven touched her, he'd throw them off a cliff. Do you think Mark just kept control of the body, jumped into the hole, and then switched back mid-fall? Like he was like, I told you I'd jump us off a cliff, dude. And here we go.
That's pretty harsh because then he gets to just make these decisions and not have to experience
The pain.
the pain and the consequence of falling down in there. I mean, again, if you're going to be a little bit nitpicky, we do kind of play a little bit loose with the rules of like, because this whole time we built up with like the mirror thing, right? We have to look in the mirror, and that's like the gateway. And in this episode, we kind of do a couple of different things. Like he just is able to just take over an arm.
I don't think you need to be in the mirror to be able to take over. I just think that's how they communicate with each other.
Yeah, but also
because he does
she
switch.
just calls him. She just calls Mark, and then he just comes out.
Yeah.
It's like if it's that easy, then why can't she just call them? When
Maybe that's their relationship building, and they're connected, and they're able to they're able to handle this better. I want to talk about the kiss really quick because that was a very awkward kiss, but I thought it really worked for what was trying to be portrayed there. Like, because she goes for the kiss and it like doesn't happen, and then I kind of cringed when it happened. When it did happen, because Steven, but it's also because when you have Oscar Isaac on screen, you're like, he's very attractive. We're gonna have a good kiss scene. But in this, Steven Grant it makes sense for him to be awkward in it.
Yeah.
And so that's like a little touch that is I enjoyed. I was like, oh, I like that they're not doing this big sweeping scene.
And even if Steven Grant himself wasn't super awkward, it should still be awkward because they are different people, and she shouldn't just be getting romantically sucked into this beautiful moment, because that's what she's trying to do the first time, and that's what you think's going to happen. But then when he instigates the kiss the second time, you can see in her face, and
she's like, oh, I don't.
She's like, this is weird. This is weird.
Yeah.
Even though he smells like him. Apparently.
Yeah, that was a comment. That was a comment.
Looks like him. It's like she's mentioning that now.
Yeah.
I suppose because she's only really the last episode started to just actually believe and accept just how this is this split personality.
Yeah, she didn't really buy it.
Working.
I do love that the Marvel Disney Plus shows are handling all sorts of romantic entanglements. In Loki, we have you falling in love with yourself, and in this show, we have what do you do when you have two personalities in the same body that are in love with the same girl?
Yeah, and we get a great line as well from Steven around this part of the episode where he's like, if I need a protein shake, I'll call you out.
Yeah,
and it's like. I thought that was such a great intro, just call him a knucklehead.
Yeah.
It's
their interactions are great. The way they talk with each other is just
Mm-hmm.
It's very real. It kind of feels like a brotherly interaction.
Yeah.
We'll talk more
Although,
about that.
you know what I would have liked, because we don't get a massive amount of Mark, like for the most part in this, like
Mhm.
a good like 70% of this episode. And what I would have really liked to have seen is more like from Layla's perspective, and maybe like less of like the voices
Ooh,
in each other's heads. I kind of would just want to see it from her perspective, where we're not hearing
ooh, that would be really
him
cool. You just see him turn and
internalized.
talk to
Yeah,
himself.
it's
Oh,
a small detail, but I think
that
they
would have
could
been
have
neat.
done something with that, and maybe they will.
Yeah,
But it would have just been cool to see it from the outside angle a little bit more.
yeah. Oh, I'd
But
really
they
like to see
balanced it.
that. I hope we get that before this is done.
So does Layla.
Yeah. I, God damn it. I, all right, let's talk about uh Layla's father, which is, can we get that picture of Harrow just kind of in his philosophy professor stance? Yeah. Harrow comes out and he sits down and he goes, your boyfriend killed your dad. Or your boyfriend was at least in your husband. Your husband was
Yeah,
involved in the killing of your dad. And we
which we
find
all
out,
knew.
yeah. But we found
We
out
didn't.
also that like, and I had not expected it to have happened before they met. That was a detail that she's like, you fucking found me because, and that is such a fascinating character moment and a character decision for Mark to have made that I really need to see explored more. The idea that,
Hmm.
because I think that gives them an out for the Mark and Layla relationship and make it more about Steven and Layla, because now you've pretty much revealed that he's with her because of a guilty conscience and that he sought her out and
I,
like deceived her into this relationship.
that is why he sought her out, but I don't think that their relationship was false by any means. I do
No,
think they
no.
genuinely fall in love. I
But
mean,
I think
she
it
definitely
gives them
does.
an out. I think it gives them an out of if they wanted to not have to deal with the interesting question of how does it work dating three people in the same body. I think that is an avenue to get away from that. Is
Do you know
you
what it
could
reminded me of? Is in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where you've got
mm,
Bucky and he's going around and he's got the list of people that he needs to make
yeah,
reparations for
yeah,
when he hurt them or their
yeah.
family as the Winter Soldier. Because we still don't know this, or we haven't confirmed this, but we're assuming that it was Mark who was present during that
Mm-hmm.
incident of the dad getting killed. So for all we know, it wasn't the Mark personality that was there and let it happen. And then you've got the element of Mark is now having to like go around apologizing and
Mm-hmm.
making up for stuff that maybe this other potentially more violent arsehole of a personality is doing. So then he's running around chasing after himself, basically, just trying to make things okay, which is then in turn got him married and everything. So, it kind of works out,
It's very
if
in
that's the
line.
case.
Yeah, it's very in line with what we've gotten so far. Like funnily enough, that thematically feels like the biggest MCU Phase 4 connection because I feel like that is what if Mark's partner is the other self? I am that is
Yeah.
a theory that I have as well, but I'm not sure how it's gonna play out. But my thought about this, pretty much all the Marvel Disney Plus shows have dealt with characters dealing with trauma or with some sort of guilt or reconciling with events that they did in the past. I'm
Hmm.
WandaVision, obviously dealing with the trauma of
Yeah.
Vision's death. Falcon Winter Soldier dealing with kind of the guilt and trauma with Bucky and what he did, but also the kind of Steve's gone. What do we do now? Dealing with repercussions of past actions. Loki obviously dealing with his guilt and trauma
Yeah.
of what he's done and having died, and Hawkeye obviously with Natasha being gone. It's thematically these Disney Plus shows have all felt very in line together, in
Yeah.
a way that I've
For
really
sure.
loved. I
And
think it's cool that that's especially following Endgame what we're doing right now.
what adds an extra layer to this as well is because, like you say, we're kind of dealing with trauma and we're kind of going more introspective but also if you look at the overall like direction of where we're going with the MCU, which is multiverse and a lot of
Mm,
these alternate timelines and stuff, that
mm,
even that bigger scale cosmic side of it
mm.
plays into that, because
Yeah.
viewing different versions of yourself or different, you know, sides of yourself, or, you know, all this what if kind of scenarios is a great way to like frame, you know, the ramifications of that trauma and what it means if you take that out or if you add it in. It's
Hmm.
very It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um so yeah, I just love how we're tying the big grand
Yeah.
cosmic stuff into the interpersonal stuff, and like you say, and it's tying the themes of all of the different shows and potentially movies as well together, which is really well thought. If anything, it's more well thought out than, you know, like a phase one or a phase two, which when you're
Yeah.
dealing with something as crazy as like time travel and the multiverse and all this stuff, that should be when it gets like more disconnected, right? But somehow
Yeah.
they've managed to use that as a way to like dive in even deeper. So you can just see the strides that they've taken, and, you know, in the storytelling, not just from like the visual and like the action and
Hmm.
just like nailing the characters, but like just really taking it to multiple levels.
To
There you
multiple
go. There's
levels,
another pun for you.
and really examining and plotting out, I think, the universe, or the, and when I mean universe, or the franchise, I guess, even, because I'm thinking like I'm talking when you're plotting out the what movies and what TV shows you're gonna do. And I wonder if that'll start to fall apart a little bit in Miss Marvel. But even then, like Miss Marvel, kind of. I mean, we saw that one shot in the trailer of it. Looked like there was like kind of. I feel like Miss Marvel's going to deal with generational trauma in some way. There was. It looked like there was like some kind of village burning scene in the trailer,
Hmm.
and I don't know how She-Hulk would really tie into that, but maybe something with Bruce. You
Yeah,
know?
but it's a lot about like identity, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking like, and how like our trauma or our past or our future, you know, kind of um dictates who and what we are. And you're talking about like Miss Marvel, obviously you're gonna have the elements of like her identity is like as a
Mhm,
Muslim, and then
mhm,
like she's idolizing a superhero like Captain Marvel, and
mhm,
then, you know, she's dealing with high school. So then it's
mhm.
how do you like rectify all of those different images of yourself and what other people view you as, and also how you view other people and the world, and, you know, trying to find like the peace amongst all of that.
Yeah.
So again, She-Hulk could get a little bit weirder for She-Hulk, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there'll be some kind of semblance of um connectiveness to that as well.
Yeah. I got big
Sure.
hopes for She-Hulk. I got big hopes. All right, I'll bring it back to
I'm
Moon Knight.
intrigued,
I
please.
was I was I went off on that tangent there because I was just starting to think about that. But
Beautiful.
I mean, yeah, Mark was there when, or Mark, the body at least was there presumably.
Yeah.
That's when he acquired or became Khonshu's avatar, because actually, so I can't make the text pop up, but Josh's comment about Mark's partner is the other self. He does say that he got shot by his partner as well. So
Hmm.
unless the other personality shot themselves, I think what this is going to be is it's going to be a different person. Maybe setting up a future antagonist of Moon Knight or something like that. Maybe it's going to be somebody who could pop up later wherever. I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to be Mark's others. It's going to be the third personality who is clearly coming at this point.
Well,
If
they foreshadow the third personality at the end of this episode very,
Yeah,
you know,
I like
directly.
you could maybe miss it. Hashtag it was Dracula all along. You could maybe miss it in the last episode, not in this one, not at all in this one.
It's
Yeah.
there.
Um. But so I do still think this is where Steven comes from, but at the same time, he said, man, this is all very interesting now to me, because I really need to see the timeline, because I remember thinking that he's only been Khonshu's avatar for a year,
Mm-hmm.
which would then mean that they had a pretty quick relationship, him and Layla. Because if he became Khonshu's avatar after all this happened, and then he met her after he became Khonshu's avatar, and it's only been a year, like that's a pretty quick. No, that can't be right.
Yeah.
I think he must have been gone for a year or something. I don't know. I need to look at this timeline and get it back in my head because I'm confused. But regardless, I still think that's where Steven came from.
Yeah, because I
Is
think
the
Mark's always had the dissociative identity, or
Yeah.
at least from a much earlier time in his life. But I don't think the other personality has always been Steven. Steven's the new personality. I think this
Mhm.
other personality is the one that we've been alluding to, and then Steven is a result of Mark having to push that other one so far down that another one who's like sprung back up, right, like a sponge in a
Yeah.
bathtub,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm. It's
So
all
Steven's
God,
only a few months old, I
I can't
think.
wait. I can't wait for this next episode because I mean this is going to be the one where we like kind of delve into it. But before we get
Hmm.
into like talking about that, um main character gets shot. Hero shoots him twice, and we have this awesome scene of him in the
Yeah,
water. And then,
yeah,
I mean, he got shot twice.
I mean, this is his first time getting shot and left for dead, like
Yeah. But the last
presumably.
time he was well, he did get shot and left for dead by his partner,
Yeah,
but he
this
got
is what I'm
saved by
saying.
Khonshu, and Khonshu's imprisoned now.
Yeah,
So
so I
like,
do have issues here. I
okay,
mean, I'm kind of questioning this. Like, firstly, how he's not just surviving 2 gunshots to the chest. I mean, maybe like he might be in like serious, like, let's assume that the next episode he's like, but then it's not like they can just wheel him onto an operating table. He's in a tomb
he's in a
with the bad
tomb.
guys. They're not going to like try and get
No,
him out and help him. So I'm intrigued to see how they're going to explain Mark survival, or Mark and Steven getting shot twice in the chest. But also, what really annoys me is that Harrow, this man who's all about divine balance
just shot
and
him.
justice, just fucking pulls out a Glock and just shoots you. The scales, he already used the scales on him, and the scales did not decide that he should die. So, and if Harrow's this like religious
Pop up.
zealot, why is he then going against the scales and just decided, no, you know what? I hate this guy. I'm going to shoot the
Fuck
prick.
this guy. Bam, bam. That is a good point. It would have been more interesting to see him like, you know. But at the same time, Mark like kill 2 of his guys before then? Mark like kills some people before he gets shot.
I mean, self-defense.
They weren't shooting.
They
He
had
attacked
guns.
first.
They were
Yeah, but
gonna.
yeah, but like I don't know if I don't know how the law works in Egyptian tombs for the
Nah,
dead
I just
pharaohs.
I
But
just feel like the only reason they played it out that way is because they wanted to have that little bit of action where he
no, I
tries to
agree.
like fight the 2
Yeah.
guards, because it would have made so much more sense if it was just the guard shot him, and then we get into the last like chunk of
Yeah.
the episode, as opposed to having Harrow be the one that does it, which maybe pays
Yeah.
off in a way later, but it still just felt out of character to me for Ethan Hawke.
For
I'm
Ethan
gonna call him
Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. I just had to just name drop
Yeah.
him just once
Okay,
because
okay,
I'm
okay.
disappointed.
Just hey, you know what? You're disappointed in Ethan Hawke and you have to make that known. It's important. I love the shot of him falling through the darkness. And
Yeah, it was pretty
then
good.
it's pretty good. And then my favorite part of the episode is when it turns into like a 90s kids television show. And they're like clearly
Yeah,
on that set. And then like everything happens. And then he goes, Dr. Grant. And whatever. And it's like it's starting to be revealed. And at that point, what I thought was going to happen was this was a flashback and we were going to see young
Mark watching the show. Yeah,
and that this was going to be where that personality came from and that we were then going to continue on and show like a young Mark in like a mental hospital like as maybe a
yeah,
teenager or something and then that was going to be the way but But no, instead we start to see characters that we have seen before, or at least actors and actresses
Yeah.
that we have seen before. And it's
Yeah.
grown adult Mark Spector, and he's in a mental
Yeah.
hospital, and they kind of play with this idea of, is any of this
Mhm.
real? What's been going on? And they definitely don't play with that for long. They definitely go, no, this is not real. This is something else. I think the question is
can't.
like,
They can't play with it for long.
if they had ended the episode, because I think it would have been a great cliffhanger to end on Mark in that chair and going Steven, like saying Steven's name over and over again.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a really good cliffhanger, but I think people would have been so pissed if they spent a week theorizing about what this meant. And then the next week the episode opened with them being like, nah, this isn't fucking real. This is something else.
But also, are we really going to theorize on that? Are we really ever going to
100%.
believe?
100%.
I mean, people would, but then are they really going to believe that this is how the show's going to end? But like a casual viewer, like you think that Marvel are going to go there?
I saw
this
people
guy hasn't been
wishing
a superhero the whole time.
I saw people wishing that that's what had happened. That nothing we had seen so far had been real. And I was like, that would have been very dissatisfying.
That would have been very underwhelming for sure. I will say though, before they even said the name of the like the on-screen like the adventure guy, just as soon as he started speaking, it was the Steven voice.
It was the voice.
Same accent. It was the exact it's like that's where that guy come from. So that was nice touch. I was even squinting at that guy, like, is that Oscar Isaac? Because it was so good.
It was very good. And then I mean, we get the whole scene. He goes to talk to Harrow, and we see like when he's getting moved around, we see characters and actors and actresses from the rest of the show. But we start to see locations kind of in like the painting of that kind of. And I was just like, I watched the last 20 last 20 minutes of this episode with my jaw just hanging open. Like
I was pretty,
it blew me away, like the first time through it, and the only time through it. I've only seen it the one time, unfortunately. I want to watch it again. But that whole sequence, that last 20 minutes, I like just glued to what was happening, like enamored. And Harrow's kind of like, oh God, he sees like the cane and even the sandals, like everything is so, the details, right? The attention to detail and the focus on the detail is so good. And then we get out into the hallway, and then it's like, oh no, this is not real. Everything starts to go crazy. We get to see Steven and Mark on screen together.
Yes. Before we get too far ahead, there's a couple of things. Okay, firstly, I almost wish that this whole thing was in the institution was real, if only because that would mean that bitch Donna would be where she belonged. Because I hated her from the first episode, and that would have been very comforting.
I didn't pick up on it at first. I was looking at people. I didn't pick up that these were people from the show until Layla. But I was like, God, that guy who's talking, the guy who's doing the bingo looks so familiar. And that woman looks so familiar, because the guy doing the bingo is the statue dude.
That's who it is.
Right. Yeah, it's the I mean, I didn't look it up, so I don't know if maybe it's not, but I assume.
Oh no, that definitely is.
That's definitely the statue dude. And that's Donna, and it's just and then you start to put it all together, and even maybe afterwards, if it doesn't click immediately, which it didn't for me on that first watch through, but like reading online and like looking at screen caps and stuff, and realizing that.
But the other thing that I was going to say that was interesting about this scene is that Ethan Hawke is basically playing the same role that Oscar Isaac played in another movie that kind of did a similar thing to this little movie called Sucker Punch. Where have you seen
Sucker Punch? No, but I've heard of it.
Well, the whole movie is built around like mental like breaks and like worlds within like psyches within worlds within psyches. And in that movie, Oscar Isaac plays the guy that runs the mental asylum, and it's basic. And he's even got the weird little tash, and everything. So Ethan Hawke is basically doing that.
Vanessa Hudgens
and
is in this.
very Legion. They like, if anyone hasn't seen Legion and you
Oh
like
damn.
this
This
kind of
kind of
stuff,
weird shit. Yeah.
yeah, Legion is that, you know, times 10
Mm.
and less of the, you know, the MCU-ness
Yeah.
to it. So if you want it serious and edgy, and this isn't quite doing it for you, go and check that out. I believe it's probably on Disney Plus now, right? Because they bought Fox, so it's probably around on the service somewhere.
I would
Or on
assume
Hulu
so.
for you guys.
I think Hulu probably. I just
Yeah.
freaked the fuck out. I don't know if you saw my eyes go really wide because my entire computer just went white for a second. Like all my browser whited out, and I was like, "Oh God, am I going to be gone? Am I going to have to restart it?" But no, I'm good.
Oh man, you and Donna belong there, Sean.
Yeah, dude. I was like, "Am I waking up? What's happening?" Um. So I read online, and this is cool. When they did the Steven and Mark stuff, that is the double was Oscar Isaac's brother,
Yes, I read this.
which is very cool. I think that's a very smart thing
This
to
is
do.
some of the best actor sharing screen time with himself stuff that I've
Oh
ever
my God,
seen.
yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Oscar Isaac is just so good at it, and it looks really good. It's very convincing.
And not just because of like the way that it's shot or edited
Yeah,
together or with the double, but because of the performance
yeah,
and
yeah.
the timing of everything. It is really, really well put together. So good
And
stuff.
they walk by that second sarcophagus, and we're all like, "Ooh, that's
Now
such a
this
creepy
one,
shot." That's such a creepy
yes.
shot when you just take it on its own. I don't think it feels
Uh-huh.
as spooky played out in the show, but I love the framing of that. That's very
So
unsettling to look at.
what's interesting with this is that because the other two sarcophaguses are lying down, right?
Mhm,
Now this one is standing up,
mhm.
which makes me believe that while this is all going on, that the personality that is in that sarcophagus is
Ooh,
the one in control because that's
ooh,
the one standing up. So
I like that.
I don't even know if Mark has been shot. Maybe that's part of the illusion that this personality is used to put those two
Mm,
back under, right? And
okay.
also it's rattling around like a motherfucker, which shows that that's a violent personality in there. That
Yeah.
one is standing up, is not being trifled with. Whoever's in that one means business.
Josh, can you put that back up on screen again for a second? I just want to look at it again. Oh, that's so unsettling. That's such a creepy shot. Oh God. All right. Sorry. I don't like that, but I love it at the same time. And then like if you had any question at this point whether what was happening was real or not, if there was any thought in your mind of like, is this real? Okay, so I believe it's pronounced. I'm gonna try.
Don't butcher the culture, Sean.
I'm going to Ta Erit, something like that. Oh my God! I that thing came through the door, and I gotta tell you that was the most shocking part of the episode.
Well, I'm expecting another Oscar Isaac to walk through the door, right?
Yeah. Which that might be Oscar Isaac. Who knows? But
I mean, fuck it. He's playing every other
yeah,
person in the show.
yeah. But I was expecting Oscar Isaac, Layla, Harrow, and maybe like this other partner person.
Mm-hmm.
Was
But
not
no,
expecting that. Wasn't ready for that.
what we get, and you're probably not going to understand this reference, Sean.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this is a This looks like a tweenie. I don't know if you had this show. Josh, throw it up. Let's go.
Oh, you guys planned this. Tweenie.
Now it's the one on the far left. Is Bella. That's what it is.
Why do you have so Why do you have so many pictures?
Because I really wanted to do this bit, Sean. They even sound the same. They have the same voice. If you care enough and you want to go look up an episode of this show, That's the villain.
I, that's
Fuck
the
Ethan
villain.
Hawke, fuck Harrow. The big CGI battle scene at the end of this season. We're fighting the tweenies, motherfucker.
Whose voice was that when she spoke? Antonia Salib. Okay,
So
Tauret,
nobody that we know of.
the hippopotamus-headed Egyptian goddess of childbirth and fertility, who acts as a protector of mothers and children.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
So that means we're, I don't know where that lines up, but we're going to kind of delve into like the next episode. We're going to go into the origin of Mark and like maybe like how these personalities were birthed. And,
yeah, I mean, I assume so.
And we set up the stuff with the mother, right? Because he's trying to call his mum, and we still don't know if the mum is alive, if she's dead.
Oh, yes.
So I think that's got to be foreshadowing all of that stuff. And we're going to see, like, I think, like what you said earlier, with like a young Mark sit in front of a TV, kind of get a bit more of a insight into how these all these motherfuckers came to be, basically.
Yeah, I think that's this entire next episode. I think it all takes place. Okay, so like, I guess there's a question of like, my immediate thought is that it's in his mind that it's happening. But I mean, people online have said like maybe it's some sort of Egyptian limbo or afterlife type situation or something mystical happening. My first thought had been mental, psychological. Could be spiritual. I guess we'll find out next episode. But I think the whole episode takes place there, whatever it is. I think we're just going to deep dive into like his past, his psychology, like everything. And I guess the main plot will conclude in episode 6 or whatever. Who cares at this point?
We'll write his touch there, Sean.
We'll
conclude or whatever.
Well, maybe the season will end. You know what? I'm unsure that Loki ended. I don't know if that ended. I mean, we're getting a second season, but I don't know if that show like ended. It kind of just stopped.
Well, like, you're worried that you're gonna like wake up any minute now and you're still watching it, kind of situation.
No, I just mean like I don't think the story ended. It just kind of like stopped. Didn't conclude.
Yeah, but then does any story ever really end, Sean?
I might get a nosebleed. Hold on.
Here and in here forever.
As long as why do I feel like when you say that? Why do I feel like when you said that, I should have started to hear a Linkin Park song play and hear Optimus Prime go, "This is a message to all Autobots." Like
the Allspark.
A story never ends as long as it lives in your heart. Now, I'm coming to fuck you up. Like, I don't know. What I've done, like more movies should end like the Transformers movies. Those movies are terrible, but the fact that all of them end with an inspirational speech from Optimus Prime and then a Linkin Park song is something that more. I don't care if Optimus Prime isn't in the movie. Optimus Prime should show up. Give a speech at the end. That's what Marriage Story was missing. At the end of that show, at the movie, if you guys, I'm about to spoil it. If anybody hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, but it came out a couple years ago. You should have seen it. But Dean, no. At the end, when they're walking away, when he's getting in that car, right? The car should have been Optimus Prime. Is what I'm saying. Anyways, you can put that back on, Dean. You can
I haven't seen that movie yet because it's too rough for me. It's too close to home. I've never been married, sad. But I've lived a life.
Okay, give me a movie that I can add this analogy or this scenario to. I need Come on, you got snappier, dude. Come on, we're burning time here. Inside Out.
On the end of Inside Out.
How does Inside Out end? I don't remember.
I don't know. She reconciles all the different emotions. Yeah, that's what.
But I'm trying to think of what the last shot of. Oh, okay. So at the end of it, they're all like inside looking at the new personality islands. Oh, and they're all working together on a new expanded console. Okay, so they're all working together on the console and they're all holding different pieces of it, and it's panning across them holding different pieces of them, and then the last person is Optimus Prime working part of the console, and he's like, we have learned together that only as one can we succeed. What I'm taking this bit way too far, but I don't care. I want every movie to end with just Optimus Prime giving a voiceover speech and a Linkin Park song playing.
Yeah, like Joker hanging upside down at the end of The Dark Knight, and he's
it like you see Batman staring down at him, and it cuts to Joker hanging, and then when we go back up to Batman, Optimus Prime is standing behind him, and he's like, Bruce Wayne, you've done a good job. Like, you have learned.
The lesson that you have learned is that you will be doing this dance forever. You and I, the Joker, and the Optimus Prime with the Allspark.
Yeah.
One after.
Okay, at the end of A New Hope, when they're all standing with the medals, Optimus Prime just shows up. He's got a medal. He's like, yeah.
Optimus Prime gets a medal and Chewie doesn't. Like, what's bullshit?
At the end of Endgame, when they're at the funeral, when they're at Tony's funeral, Optimus Prime is just standing there. He puts his hand on Pepper's shoulder to comfort her.
Have you seen that Twitter account that does Paddington Bear just photoshopped into movies? Can we please get one of those, but it's just Optimus Prime at the end of every movie?
Yeah. That's like, I've seen videos of people that add Ocean Man to the ending of every movie, and like, so one of them is the end of Last Crusade when they're riding off on the horses, and it's like like Indiana Jones, like India, like fucking they like kick the horse into motion or whatever, and it starts to gallop, and you just hear Ocean Man, take me by the hand, like whatever. It's
and then
so
Optimus
good.
Prime is riding on Grimlock.
What's your big prediction for next week? What are we gonna see? Give me something
aside from the obvious.
Yeah, give me something out there crazy that we're gonna see next week.
Oh man, I mean, what is there to predict really? Like you say, we know we're gonna get the.
I want something that's definitely not gonna happen, because I think we all know what's gonna happen next week. What's something crazy?
Okay, crazy is that we start the episode from the perspective of not Mark or Stephen, but another personality that will get revealed to us through the scene.
Okay,
we're
in their point of view.
Well, we're gonna start the episode with like a younger Oscar Isaac, right? And we're just gonna assume that we're getting the Mark origin or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as it plays out, he's gonna start acting like weird and out of character, and then we're gonna realize that we're actually seeing this third personality before we kind of then double back on ourselves and then explain how it all fits in together. They've got to make an entrance, right? You've got a third Oscar Isaac. You got to use that shit. How many things have you ever seen with 3 Oscar Isaacs in there?
I've never seen a single thing with 3 Oscar Isaacs in it, and I think
I wish I could be the thing with 3 Oscar Isaacs in it. That's all I'm gonna say, people.
So my prediction, my scene that's gonna happen is throughout the episode, we're gonna be learning, of course, but things are gonna be kind of weird, like something's interfering. You know, Mark is on this journey of self-discovery or whatever, but like something's reaching in, and like we hear like, "You gotta wake up" and stuff like that. Okay, you know, like that voice, that specific voice is like, Mark, we need you back. Like that kind of voice is kind of like in the, and then we're in some big like white room, and Mark, Steven, and the third personality are in there, and like a mental projection of Haro or some shit is in there, and he's like, you need to, he's like making them choose the wrong choice. And then we just hear, Mr. Spectre, you should reconsider. And the camera turns around, and Mahershala Ali as Blade is standing there, and he's like, he like helps him and whatever, and he like helps him make the right choice, and then we cut to Mark. He takes a deep breath, he lurches out of the water, and standing above him is Mahershala Ali's blade and Kit Harington's Black Knight. And they're there for the finale.
And speaking of finales, after the 3 Oscar Isaacs money shot me, you hear Optimus Prime.
All right, Dean, where can people find you on the internet? It's gotta end. We gotta burn this thing down.
This cut out this cancer. Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Dean Lewis 2099, and you can find me on this channel. You can find me on Instagram. I don't think that's Dean Lewis 2099, but I am on there.
You got to search for it.
You've got to search for me. You've got to search
the Oscar Isaac Dean
for the Oscar Isaac that was inside of you all along.
Yeah, you got to. We all have one. I am on Twitter at Sean_AFK. You guys, everything I do is in my Twitter bio there. This show at Movie Blog Merc on Twitter or on this YouTube channel. We are live every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern talking about Moon Knight right now and whatever, I guess.
Only got 2 nights to go.
Last time, Josh had a plug screen. I don't know if that still exists, but you should probably throw it up if it does. If not, anchor.fm/ hold on. Anchor.fm/movieblogmerc. Here's the thing. Josh is good at what he does and actually gets these handles to match. I can never do that. My handles never match anywhere. I'm just bad at what I do.
I don't even know my own Instagram. Does it even exist? It's the Stephen Grant to my Twitter's Mark Spector. All right.
Catch us next week, guys. Next Thursday. Other shows on this channel. Check them out. We'll see you guys next time.
Wall up.